Gang, remember yesterday when I told y'all that we were gonna do the rebalance survey and whatnot, and I filled it out and sent it on to Google? Well, turns out there's more. So I found this out yesterday, well, today after I got off of work, or during my break time, or whenever I found out about it Saturday. Um, yeah, so we got some other characters who got rebalanced or who want to rebalance, and we're going to talk about the new cable rebalance that'll be coming in Monday. So that's not delayed. Now, I mentioned in that rebalance video that there would be three options that are are clear clear winners, or in this case losers. Three that were whatever, and then the other three that were reaches, so to speak. Well, here, most of the characters on here are pretty bad. The one exception is Yelena. I think that's because I have a soft spot for her AP destruction and whatnot. But we're not gonna do the whole breakdown of the powers, all that there. But if I had to choose three, which I will do that later on, my choices are Odin. Odin's pretty bad. The Hunter, she's pretty bad. And keep it a buck, we'll go with Heimdall. Peggy's pretty bad. Rescues, eh. Cersei, once she gets her shenanigans started, it's not too bad. Captain America Infinity War, we're going to talk about him in a moment. Ultron needs a wholesale damage scaling. Wasp, she's had a rework, and I guess she needs another one. And then Yelena will leave her last. So I'm going to go to Captain Infinity War. Because since this is the tier that I know a fair amount about, I can kind of go through things. Rope-a-dope deals damage to targets, and if you have at least one enemy left or remaining, it becomes coup de grace, and it deals damage to the target. It destroys all friendly AP that you may have, dealing additional damage for each AP destroyed. Cool deal. Never out of country, cost 6. Choose a basic tile. Destroy 6 enemy AP in that tile's color, and then create a 5-turn countdown tile. As long as it remains on the board, the enemy can't gain AP in that color. And On Your Feet Soldier, which I thought at one point in time this year would have been a busted ability. Now, not really that great. Cost 15, revives a down ally, grants them a burst of 40% health. When you leave out the fight, the character will be healed with 1 HP. Higher levels, more health. Right. Let's see here. Heimdall. But since he's going to be sharing stuff with not only Odin Rescue and Peggy Worthy, and let's look at them all real quick. Heimdall, Allseer, cost 6. Choose 3 basic tiles or friendly special tiles. They heal Heimdall, and then um, as long as you have uh, fortified tiles in the particular colors that you may choose from, all other friendly powers cost 1 AP less for each fortified tile in The power minimum of 3. Pretty much anything other than blue. That's it in a nutshell. Prismatic Cleave is his red nuke, so to speak. Deals 1678 damage plus an additional 5015 for each color fortified tile on the board. Again, if you get all 6, that's 30,000 damage right there, plus the additional 16, but you're never, well, let me rephrase that. It'll be very rare that you get all 6 off. The Bifrost Bridge is his active and passive yellow. Actively sends all his allies airborne for a turn. When they land, gain 20 feet from his color. Passively, when he has no active allies, Heimdall takes less damage at higher levels, more AP, more damage reduction. Odin is just terrible. Protector 9 Rims is passive. Odin jumps out in front if the enemy deals whatever the damage threshold might be. Reduce the damage for each color of fortified tile by 15%. At level 5 is 20. And then if Odin is already in front and he fortifies 3 random basic or friendly special tiles. Spirit Heaven costs 7. Choose a basic tile, deal 10,000 for 407, and then becomes a 2-turn repeater that destroys AP in the enemy's largest AP pool. Yeah, that's not really that good. And then Odin's Blessing, it's passive. If there's at least 3 fortified tiles on the board, you create a 3-turn countdown tile. They're going to burst the health to the lowest health ally, and then when it expires, it creates a random fortified strike tile of whatever the list might be, 660 in this case, and then other allies gain 2 levels in all powers, max of 5, each of these tiles on the board. Think more along the lines of our good friend Black Bolt, who nobody really cares about, and his yellow ability. His yellow ability increases the levels of all of his allies. Well, at level 5 to increase the levels of both of his allies. Choose a chosen ally, and they're essentially a 5/5/5 character. Next up, Rescue. She's decent-ish, so to speak. Now, if she was a 4-star character, okay, you may have a point. She deals damage, steals 3 strike, attack, and protect tiles from the enemy. If there's any non-red strike, attack, or protect tiles on the board, after this power is fired, then you convert them to red. Your shield is both active and passive for 8 yellow, and converts all friendly attack and strike tiles to protect tiles, and improves friendly protect tiles by 338. Higher levels, you can see that it's an increase, and then you create two projectiles if there are no friendly strike, attack, or projectiles on the board. And then passively, if there's at least 2 or more friendly projectiles on the board, then rescues allies get healed for a burst of health. And then Do or Die, this is a red ability that costs 6. Fires 2 blasts of 5526 damage, so essentially 1100 damage, so to speak. And if there's at least 2 or more friendly strike, attack, or projectiles on the board, then she throws in an additional blast for roughly half. Worthy Peggy Carter, oh boy. Now, I do like the stiff upper lip ability. You deal damage to the target, send them airborne for 2 turns, and then at the start of an enemy turn, random enemy takes damage for a charge tile, and the damage is increased to any airborne enemies. Don't say I didn't warn you, use both active and passive. It creates 2 projectiles on the board. If Peggy's health is over 50%, then she increases it by 10%. Otherwise, she deals damage to a random enemy, increase for each friendly strike tile on the board. And then passively, if an ally takes whatever the listed threshold of damage may be, you store a friendly protect tile to reduce the damage, and then create 2 strike tiles. And the destroyed tiles don't deal damage or generate AP as per usual. The calm is her 5 red, that's clearly blue, and there's a blue border and the header as well. She creates 3 turn repeater tiles on the board that create a charge tile and deal damage to a random target, and if there's at least 9 or more charge tiles on the board, then it becomes the storm, and then whenever a brewing storm repeater tile leaves the board, you create a charge tile. And then the storm costs 10, she destroys up to 7 charge tiles, each one destroyed. You deal 1810 damage to the target. Destroyed tiles don't deal damage or generate AP, and there's a 40% chance if the target is stunned for 1 turn, and then you increase for this chance is increased for each turn or each time a charge tile is destroyed. And then at higher levels, more tiles, a longer duration of stun, whatever. Again, there's something there, but where she's at currently, it's not really that great. Alright, let's see here. So we talked about all 3 of these here. Boom, boom, boom. Alright. Cersei, you are next, if I can remember. Well, I know you got yellow. I think it's purple and green. Right? Yeah. She's her along with Star-Lord and Daredevil are the only ones that have this particular color set. And Cosmic Purpose costs 3. Choose a color, converts 5 tiles into that color. Of that color to random tiles, and then it becomes Cosmic Path in the chosen color. So what Cosmic Path will do, new tiles are 50% less likely to be in that power's color. So if you choose yellow, then it cuts the probability of the tiles being yellow each turn, or at the start of I gotta put it. Each time either team makes a match, there's gonna be less likelihood of the color that you chose appearing on the board, and that's good for those puzzle gauntlets and the quest that you may have to do during the season. And then at the start of the turn, if there are fewer than 5 tiles of whatever color you chose on the board, then she creates a strike, attack, or projectile in the chosen color. If it happens to be green and black, it's an attack tile. If you choose red and purple, it's a strike tile. If it's yellow and blue, or blue, it's a protect tile. Get the transmutation is her yellow. We talked about her yellow ability. It's her green ability. I swear, I can see colors. I'm not colorblind. So you choose a color other than green, then she converts 4 random tiles to whatever color you chose, and then she fortifies up to 3 special tiles in that color and increases their strength by whatever the listed amount is. Higher levels, more strength, more tiles converted in the color. And then finally, Eternal Life is her yellow passive. When her team makes a match 5 or greater, she creates the 3-turn fortified countdown tile. When it expires, it deals almost 25,000 damage to the enemy team. And if Cersei happens to be downed while one or more of these tiles is on the board, then you remove one and then you revive her with 50% health. So again, she has something there, but she needs a little bit something more. Again, what that something more is, I don't know. That's up for the developers to figure out. Alright, Hunter, you're next, because you got the color scheme of Adam Warlock, Green Goblin, and Ghost. Alright, her stuff is pretty much ugh. And half of the community in Marvel Puzzle Quest doesn't like to read. Again, the more simpler the power, the more the community is like, oh, okay. With Hunter, you have to juggle between the light and the dark path. If she has more blue AP, it relies on blue AP. You choose the path of light or dark, drain off friendly blue AP, and you provide a point with a selected type for each AP. Max 6. And gaining light consumes dark and vice versa. Okay. And then she has 4 more light points and becomes Blade Storm. If it's dark, it becomes 4 more dark points, then it becomes Annihilation, and then this passive, the yellow passive right there is always active. And we'll talk about the light points and all that once we get to Inspire. Blade Storm costs 7. If you have more light points, aka matching yellow tiles, then you deal 6460 to the enemy team, destroying random AP for each light point that you have. Annihilation, if you have the dark points instead, she deals less damage to the enemy team, and then an additional 2154 for each dark point that she has, and then dark points reduced to 0, and it goes back to Unity Collar. Slash costs 5. It just deals a little over 13,000 damage. If you have light points, then it becomes Quick Slash. Quick Slash deals 8,000 damage roughly, and gains 1 light point. And this here costs less if you have more light points than anything. Merciless Slash again does the same thing, but this time it stuns, and then you deal the same amount of damage. So yeah. Then Inspire, it's a 3-turn, 3 AP move that creates an Inspire countdown tile, which increases all friendly match damage by 90%. At higher levels, I want to say it ends up being a 5-turn countdown tile. Then, if she has the light points, so if she matches yellow or blue, then she gains light points. If you match black and purple, then it becomes dark points, and you can have a max of 6. And then if you have more light points, this ability becomes heal, which costs 6 black. Choose an ally, heal them for a burst of health, and then an additional amount of burst healing for every light point that you have. And then dark heal obviously is going to be the reverse. Instead of it being a burst heal, it takes the health from Hunter herself, and then gives them a good amount of health. But if you can get more dark points to decrease the after effects of it, it won't be too bad. Again, you can get a max of 60% for each dark point, because again, max of 6. Yeah, Hunter definitely needs a rework for sure, and that's why I have her chosen there. Now, last three, Ultron, Wasp. Let's get into them real quick. Then, of course, what's her face too, Yelena. All right, Wasp. Again, she had a rework. All her deals with swarm tiles. Her and the 4-star Ant-Man both deal with swarm tiles. Sting operation costs 6, steal 5 random AP. For each different color stolen, you create a locked swarm tile on the board, and you destroy a random strike enemy or protect tile. And if you happen to have 4 more swarm tiles on the board, there are some effects. Call the swarm costs 12, deals damage to the enemy team, destroys all swarm tiles, and 3 random tiles surrounding them, gain AP from the swarm tiles, and then you stun the enemy team for 1 turn for every 3 swarm tiles destroyed. So if you have at least 6 swarm tiles, it's a 2-turn stun, and her max damage is increased by 10% for each swarm tile, and then if it's lower than 4, then it goes back to Sting operation. Shrink tactics costs 10. Choose a selected ally. Turn them invisible for 4 turns. Then you create 4 locked swarm tiles. And if you get at least a max, well, at least 4 swarm tiles on the board, it goes to shrink the swarm. For 5 yellow, you select 3 swarm tiles. Other ones are removed, giving allies a burst of health and gaining 1 AP for each tile destroyed, up to 5. And then finally, Pain Index this here costs 10. Steals a burst of health. Yes, ma'am. Hang on. Alright, before I was interrupted, the Pain Index this here costs 10, as I mentioned. Steals a burst of health from the target, and an additional amount of health for each of those swarm tiles you got on the board, and then you create 2 locked swarm tiles on the board. Again, these can't be matched, but they can be destroyed. And then grow the swarm. This costs 7. You create a random locked swarm tile, and you gain 1 black AP for every 2 of those tiles on the board, up to 12. And then you deal damage to enemy team for each swarm tile on the board. After less than 3, it becomes Pain Index. So again, there's something there with Wasp, but her abilities cost way too much for the swarm tiles. Ultron, now, again, he just needs an above the board increase. Hive Mind passive if there's a strike, attack, or protect tile on the board, and if fewer than 5, he converts a basic adjacent tile, one of them, to whatever tile that you have on the board, and if there happens to be 5 or more tiles, then he improves a random tile by the listed amount. Polaris distance here a whole heck of a lot better. Gravitational Force, black ability cost 8, creates a 2-turn fortified black countdown tile that destroys AP in the target's strongest color each turn, and then stuns it for 2 turns when it expires. At higher levels, more AP. Same duration for the stun. Energy Beams cost 7, deals damage to the target. There's at least 4 friendly strike, attack, or projectiles on the board. Damage can't be reduced. Then you create 4 strike tiles of the listed strength. Again, Ultron just needs, get him the Polaris treatment. That's all I'll say. And then finally, Yelena, which I know her color fetting. Top of the class is a passive ability. At the start of the turn, if the enemy has at least 9 AP in any color, then you create a strike tile, you deal damage, and you reduce the largest AP pool by 4. Spycraft costs 7. He creates friendly trap tiles in the enemy's strongest color. If they're matched or destroyed by the enemy, then they deal damage, and then convert the enemy's strongest color to the weakest color. And then finally, military surplus costs 9, deals damage to the enemy team, destroys 2 strike, attack, or protect tiles, converting the enemy AP, the strongest color to the weakest color for each tile destroyed. And then, of course, destroyed tiles don't generate AP or deal damage. So, yeah, again, her red is good. If her spycraft was something similar to our boy Mr. Sinister with that rework there, you may be cooking with something there. Gotta do something with military surplus. But again, I'm doing too much. I don't know why I took blue off. I thought I said yellow. My bad. Alright, Cable. We're gonna look at him originally. We'll look at the rebalance from Broken Circle, and we'll dissect it down, and then we'll get into the main event of the evening. Cyborg Strategist costs 9. Choose a basic tile, becomes a 3-turn countdown tile. And whenever you make a green match while one of these tiles is on the board, you stun the enemy for 2 turns, and you create up to 4 green charge tiles. Plasma Barrage, or as I like to call it, Hyper Viper Beam. This here costs 12. It deals 20, 50 damage to the target, and then any damage beyond the target's remaining health is dealt to their allies. Piercing battle damage, if you want to think about it like that, for those who play other trading card games. And then finally, Veteran Instincts. This is yellow ability that's both active and passive. Actively, for 9 yellow, you create 3 strength 663 charge of strike tiles, plus an additional strike tile for each one of Cable's allies that's in the fight. And then passively, whenever you make a yellow match, you fortify a random countdown or repeater tile. And then this is Cable's regular costumes, and now he's gonna have a brand new costume in the game. And so this is it here. Okay, so the general notes that they said they increased Cable's max damage to modern standards and increased his overall health slightly. They could have made his health increase more, but they took some of that budget and pushed it towards his abilities to make them faster than previous. Since he's not designed to be a frontline fighter, he didn't really need the tanky HP values that he was using before. Let Thor or Hulk handle that sort of thing. But Cable's the Omega level you know what, never mind. We're not get into lore. And so as you can see, his base health at 450, 63, 368 with increased damage in blue, increased damage in yellow, and green. As you can see, his blue is 10,000 damage, or 1,000 damage, excuse me. One too many zeros. Green 891 and yellow 780. Again, compare this here to mine. Again, this is because of the boost of Hope Summer, so that's going to effectively make Cable's green a little bit stronger. But again, at 485, cool. And then we'll look at his health, 775. Again, I could argue that Cable needs the bulkier health, but I digress. The feeders are pretty much unchanged. Bishop and Deathlock both feed Cable. Alright, we already talked about the Cyborg Strategist. So this is the developer's line of thinking here. One of the things they noticed was the ability's usage is that most players would use it for charge tiles, agreed, but would only use it once or maybe twice in a battle. on battles that lasted long enough for multiple uses, of course, indicating once it hit the tilting point of having the ability to create few or no charge tiles, it stopped being worthwhile. With this change, it not only creates more tiles at the outset, but it also deals some damage if the ability would be useless in the charge tile area, along with a slight boost in speed, though a yeah, through AP lower AP cost. We're thinking this ability should be more potent in stunning, charging, and damaging. So now this is the after, which we talked about before. Uh, it choose the basic tile to become a 5-turn blue countdown tile. If you make a green match on one of these is on the board, you stun the enemy for 2 turns, and then you create up to 3 green charge tiles. If Cable runs out of tiles to convert, then you deal whatever the damage is. At higher levels, longer duration of stun, more tiles created, more damage done. And again, this is at level 550. So tamper down the expectations if you think this is at 450. I kind of wish they would have did one at 450 and one at 550, but I get it. Okay, Plasma Barrage. So slow. The ability is decent for what it is. It has a very unique flavor to it, but the AP cost meant that by the time you were ready to it was ready to be used, you whacked 1 or 2 enemies, or at least brought them low enough that you're gonna get a reduced effect from the ability. Well, that's the thing. You want to fire this here off when the person is at low health, less than the damage threshold. Again, that's how I've always fired it off. So we poured every bit of the budget into lowering the AP cost to make it as fast as it could without actively lowering the damage dealt. There's still a little bit of budget within the team to suck up a little bit more damage improvements. The last bits that weren't used for AP reduction were made some additional bang for Cable's post-apocalyptic buck. So it now costs 9 instead of it being 12. Again, damage to the target still, any damage beyond the target's remaining health, piercing battle damage again. At higher levels, yeah, 7,000 something. I mean, it's the start. Now, when you look at someone, well, we'll look at the health pools of a couple of my 550s, and they're like, that's like half the health for some of these characters here. Okay, Better Instincts, final ability. Similar to above, strike tile creation works fine for what it is, but it's not very fast at doing its job. Could have bumped up the strength of the strike tiles, but instead we made the ability much faster instead. That way, if you want the strike tile strength, you can use the ability twice and quite a bit more quickly for the first use in any case, which allows you to pump out more damage. Left the passive portion of this alone, using the delta that it would have gained in balance points to get that AP down just a little bit more, since it costs more to bring AP from 9 to 6 than it does from 12 to 9. We talked about it previously. So afterwards, Cable, instead of creating 1 strike tile, he creates 2 at level 1, and then of course the additional strike tile for any allies that are remaining in the fight. And at higher levels, stronger strike tiles. At level 4, that's when you get the increase of 3. And again, we touched on the passive portion. If you make a yellow match, 4 to 5 random countdown tower, so to speak. Again, I didn't have the chair level 5. He's already making 3 strike anyway, so cool deal. Now, as I mentioned, let me clear out this here. So these are for my 550s with Jane Foster. coming into the 515 by 11 levels. Main, her health, and you fire off half of that there, big whoop. And plus she can true heal. Jubilee, okay, you've actually made quite a dent into her, but she can revive as long as her repeater tiles are on the board. May Parker, yeah, you've made a decent chunk into her, but she can resist damage thanks to advanced spider sense. And then Okoye, yeah, 28, 2811. Well, 12811. Yeah, that makes a fair dent into her, but she can true heal. So, yeah. And then Jane Foster, well, we already know the deal about her. Yeah, all them charge tiles and, and that fortified stuff. Yeah, nah. Cable, Cable is decent, but he ain't moving the needle that much. Even though I have mine at 485 because I pulled for him and who was it in his store? I think it was him, Kitty, and Havoc. That's who it was. Because yeah, Kitty Pride at the time was pretty good. I mean, she still is good. Havoc, I kind of regretted getting Alex Summers, but now that he's got his rework, he's okay. I ain't I ain't using him over Juggernaut, but that's enough of me rambling. Yeah. So this update here will be available on January 13th, so this Monday, during the data push. So yeah, I'm gonna take a little bit of a small break and go ahead and get some water so we can do all these legendary pulls.